Hello students, today we are going to discuss some more concepts from molecular biology under part 4. The concept is central dogma. Francis Crick proposed the central dogma in molecular biology. So Francis Crick proposed this central dogma in molecular biology. So what it states? Central dogma states that the genetic information flows in one direction only. The genetic information flows in one direction. That means the genetic information flows unidirectionally. Unidirectional. So that is from DNA to RNA, from RNA to proteins. So it will move in only one direction as per central dogma, which is proposed by Francis Crick. So here it is the representation of this central dogma, which is proposed by Francis Crick. So now here the DNA, it is a double helical in structure. It is a double helix. So now this DNA having the information. Now from this DNA, it is transcribed. First this DNA is replicated. It is replicated to form one more DNA, and after that it transfers the information, transfers the information onto the RNA. That is called as transcription. Whatever the information present in DNA, that is first decoded onto the RNA. That type of RNA we will call as messenger RNA, that is mRNA. So the information present on DNA is copied onto the mRNA. That process we will call as the transcription. So that mRNA brings that information to the ribosomes. Here it is a ribosomes. Ribosomes. So now this mRNA translates whatever the information they brought. That information is translates to the tRNA as well as rRNA. So because the ribosomes are the sites for protein synthesis. Protein synthesis. The gene expression is phenotypically it is expressed in the form of protein synthesis. That protein synthesis is takes place in ribosomes, and the proteins are made up of polypeptides. Polypeptides. This polypeptide consists many amino acids. Many amino acids. This amino acid sequence information present on this DNA. So in a polypeptide, amino acids are present. That arrangement, that amino acid information is present in DNA. So from that DNA, the information is copied onto this RNA, mRNA. It will translate that information to the ribosomes to synthesize these proteins. So that's why transcription, information copied onto the RNA, translation transfers that information to the ribosomes to synthesize this protein. So that is unidirectional according to the Francis Crick. In some viruses called retroviruses, in some viruses called retroviruses have the ability of making RNA copies themselves, which can then recopied to make double-stranded DNA. That is, in such retrovirus viruses, RNA having ability to make double-stranded DNA. This process is called as reverse transcription. So generally transcription means the making of RNA from DNA. It is transcription. Reverse transcription is nothing but making DNA from RNA. That ability having only in some viruses. Such viruses are called as the retroviruses. Best example is HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. HIV virus, HIV is example of retrovirus. It causes AIDS. AIDS causing virus is example for this retrovirus. In this virus, the RNA synthesize or make the double-stranded DNA. That process is called reverse transcription. Why it is happen in that? Because it is catalyzed by an enzyme called reverse transcriptase enzyme. This enzyme is special in these retroviruses. Due to presence of this reverse transcriptase enzyme, the RNA make the double-stranded DNA. This enzyme was first discovered by Temin and Baltimore in 1970. Hence, the central dogma is modified and now represented as bidirectional. Previously, we discussed that central dogma is unidirectional. Due to this retroviruses, because in central dogma what we discuss, DNA transfers the information and make the RNA, and this RNA forms the proteins, forms the proteins. But this retrovirus, this RNA makes this DNA double stranded DNA. Reverse transcription is takes place here. So this is a transcription in unidirectional, but here reverse transcription is takes place. That's why the central dogma is modified and it is represented as bidirectional. Let's see the same representation. Already we discussed the same diagram in previous under central dogma. So now in central dogma we discussed that this DNA self-replicated, yes, and this DNA transcribed to form RNA, and this RNA translate that information to ribosomes to synthesize polypeptide chain in proteins. So this, as per central dogma, it is unidirectional. It is unidirectional as per central dogma proposed by Crick. Now, in retroviruses, in retroviruses, due to presence of reverse transcriptase enzyme, transcriptase enzyme, The transcription is takes place in reverse. So these dotted lines. So RNA make the double stranded DNA. This will takes place due to presence of this reverse transcriptase. And this DNA transcribe RNA, and that RNA transfers the, that means the information to the ribosomes to synthesize this polypeptide chain. So from in as per central dogma proposed by Crick, the DNA synthesize RNA, and RNA send that information to these ribosomes to synthesize polypeptide. That is central dogma unidirectional proposed by Crick. But Temin and Baltimore in 1970, they discovered this reverse transcriptase enzyme in some viruses called as retroviruses. Due to this enzyme, the RNA in this retroviruses genetic material is RNA. This RNA first make the double stranded DNA. Instead of DNA to RNA, here first RNA to RNA to DNA is takes place. Why it is happened? Due to presence of this reverse transcriptase. Now this DNA, the process is same. DNA transcribe, now actually it is viral RNA, and it is synthesizing this DNA, then it acts as a viral DNA, and then it transcribes that information to mRNA, and this mRNA carries the information to ribosomes. That means whatever the proteins or polypeptide chains are synthesized, that is based on the viral information, because here the DNA is synthesized by viral RNA. So based on this, we are consider that this central dogma DNA to RNA and RNA to DNA, it is a bidirectional, not unidirectional, because of these retroviruses. Okay. The genetic information usually flows from DNA to DNA during its replication. DNA to DNA during replication, don't get confused. During replication, synthesis of new DNA is called as replication. Synthesis of new DNA molecule is called replication. During synthesis of new DNA molecule, the information flows from DNA to DNA. And from DNA, it transferred to the protein through RNA during its phenotypic expression in an organism. So that means the DNA phenotypic expression is ultimately protein synthesis. So the gene expression or DNA expression is ultimately protein synthesis. So we can say that the ultimate expression of the gene is the ultimate expression of a gene is protein synthesis. The transfer of genetic information from DNA to protein involves two steps. That is, one, transcription. Transfer of genetic information from DNA to RNA, that is mRNA, is called transcription. Translation. Transfer of information from RNA to protein in ribosomes. These two steps are takes place. Now, transfer of genetic information from DNA to RNA is reversible. DNA to RNA is reversible. Already we discussed during central dogma. That is DNA to RNA. In some viruses, it is from RNA to DNA, retroviruses. That's why this transfer of genetic material from DNA to RNA or RNA to DNA, that is reversible. Whereas the transfer of information from RNA to protein, RNA to protein, protein is irreversible. It is only unidirectional. So we will observe bidirectional only transfer the information from DNA to RNA or RNA to DNA. That's why it is reversible. And from RNA to protein is irreversible either in retroviruses or maybe in eukaryotes, wherever this is irreversible. This is irreversible and it is reversible. So let's see the search for genetic material. So search for means which one is a genetic material, whether protein or nucleic acids. Proteins as hereditary material. So till the beginning of 20th century, proteins were regarded to be a main hereditary material. So till 20th century, everyone, all the scientists are regarded to be main hereditary material is protein. Protein is considered as the main hereditary material up to 20th century. Why? Because proteins are more abundant in the body. It constitute about 16% of our total body weight. That is one reason to consider them as a hereditary material. And next reason, proteins form structural framework of the cell and are associated with the performance of all sort of body activities, because in our body enzymes are made up of protein, hormones are made up of protein, muscles are made up of protein. So sort of all body activities are depends on the protein. So that's why they believed that proteins are hereditary material. Next, proteins occur in varied forms. In various forms they are appeared. The possible combinations of 20 amino acids in proteins. So there are total 20 amino acids. These 20 amino acids are present in the amino acids present acids present in the proteins. So proteins are made up of amino acids. So total how many amino acids form this protein? Only 20 amino acids form different types of proteins. So that's why the possible combinations of these 20 amino acids is 20 to the power of n, where n is the number of amino acid in a polypeptide chain. Polypeptide chain is formed by the amino acids. These polypeptide chains are present in the proteins. So in a polypeptide chain, the number of amino acids, that information is present in DNA. So the proteins occurred in varied forms due to the various combinations of these 20 amino acids. How many combinations we will get? 20 to the power of n combinations we will get. That's why various forms of proteins present in the body. Fourth reason, Proteins are very large, complex macromolecules. So that's why, due to these four reasons, these proteins are believed to be hereditary material till 20th century. The concept of DNA being the genetic material and not the proteins was confined much later by the following experiments. In 1926, the search of genetic material reached the molecular level. Until that until that 1926, they believed that proteins are the hereditary material. The characters are transferred from one generation to another generation through proteins. They are believed that till 1926. In 1926, the search for genetic material is reached to the molecular level and they are identified. The DNA is the hereditary material, not the proteins, but the proteins are the supporters for that hereditary characters. So the first experiment in the search of genetic material, that is Griffith experiment on bacterial transformation. Friedrich Griffith, a British bacteriologist, in 1928, he provided the first clear-cut evidence that DNA is the hereditary material. He is the first person, Griffith is the first person provide a clear-cut evidence that DNA is hereditary material. He conducted a series of experiments with the bacteria Diplococcus pneumoniae. At present, it is also considered as Streptococcus pneumoniae. This bacteria causes pneumonia in the mammals. So Streptococcus pneumoniae or Diplococcus pneumoniae, it is pneumonia causing bacteria. He worked on this bacteria to prove DNA is the hereditary material. So Griffith found that bacteria occurs in two strains or two forms. One is S strain. The colony of these cells has a smooth appearance due to presence of polysaccharide capsule around the cell. The cells of a strain are virulent. They causes the infection. So they causes pneumonia when it injected to the any organism. And the second form is R strain. The colony of R strain cells are rough appearance due to lack of polysaccharide capsule. These streptococcal cells of R strain are non-virulent, does not cause infection, pneumonia infection. So S strain is a infective form and R strain is the non-infective form. So let's observe the diagram here. So smooth capsulated pneumococcus cells, S strain. So here see the black dots, it is surrounded by a separate layer around it. If you compare the both the diagrams, then you can understand. So here bacteria colony surrounded by a polysaccharide. A colony means a group of bacteria are present. That colonies are surrounded by the polysaccharide capsule. Then it is called as the S strain. And in this, the bacterial colonies are not surrounded by any capsule. They are called as R strain. That is, Capsulated bacteria or pneumococcal bacteria is infectious, and non-capsulated pneumococcus bacteria is non-infectious. The various steps in the experiments are as follows. Step 1. S strain bacteria. Already we know that S strain bacteria is a virulent. So S strain bacteria are injected to the mice and mammal. So he injected the first that S strain bacteria. X strain is a infectious virulent. Then the mice that receives the S strain bacteria develops pneumonia because S strain is virulent and the mice is died. That is first. And in second step, the mice were injected with the R strain bacteria. The mice did not develop pneumonia because R strain is non-virulent and it is survived. So let's see the two steps in the experiments in a diagrammatic form. So when the S strain, it is a virulent, it is a virulent. When this virulent S strain is injected to the mice, mice is died, and when tested their blood samples, S strain bacteria is present. And in second step, the living R strain, it is a non-virulent injected to the mice, and mice is survived, and the blood samples absence of bacteria. In third step, the mice were injected with the heat killed S strain bacteria. In first two steps, they are injected the live bacteria. Now in third step, he heat killed that S strain bacteria. S strain is a virulent. It heated at 60 degrees centigrade, and he killed that S strain bacteria and injected to the mice. Then the mice did not develop pneumonia and survived. So when live S strain is injected, the mice developed pneumonia and died. And heat killed S strain bacteria is injected, then the mice do not or did not develop pneumonia and survive. And in fourth step, the mice were injected with a mixture of live S strain bacteria and heat killed S strain bacteria. Live, that means R strain is non-virulent, it cannot cause infection. And heat killed S strain already injected in third step. Heat killed S strain did not cause the pneumonia. So both, neither of which is lethal by itself. Lethal means deathful. Both are not cause any deathful. But when injected by a mixture, the mice develop pneumonia and died. Individually, both are not a lethal. That means does not cause the death. When individually, when you injected this live R strain, then it is not causes pneumonia. When injected heat killed R strain, then it does not cause pneumonia. But mixture of this both R strain and heat killed H strain, it develops pneumonia and died. Now, the live S strain as well as R strain bacteria were recovered from the dead mice. So, in a blood samples, They are identified the live R strain bacteria as well as R strain bacteria. Live S strain bacteria as well as R strain bacteria. But here in fourth step, what they did, they injected live R strain as well as heat killed S strain bacteria. But in dead mice blood, they identified live S strain as well as R strain, both bacteria. They recovered from the dead body of that. So let's see the diagrammatic representation of that. So first one, heat killed. A strain bacteria is heat killed at 60 degrees centigrade, and that heat killed a strain bacteria is injected to the mice. Mice is survived. And blood samples, there is no any pneumonia causing bacteria. Now what they did, they mixed this heat killed a strain bacteria and live or strain bacteria, both mixed together and injected to the mice, and mice is died. And the blood sample shows the presence of live bacteria, but here heat killed a strain is given, but they find live a strain bacteria in the blood samples of dead mice along with R strain. Based on these observations, Griffith concluded that some material had been transferred from R strain to the S strain. R strain is live. From this R strain bacteria, some material is transferred to the S strain, and this made R strain to synthesize capsule and become virulent. This phenomena is called as Griffith effect or transformation. So here the transforming the R strain to the S strain. So the change from R strain to S strain was also irritable. Biochemical characterization of transforming principle. So that is a confirmation test for that Griffith work. Biochemical characterization of transforming principle. Transforming principle was initially considered to be proteins. Oswald Avery, McLeod, and McCarthy conducted a series of experiments to determine the exact biochemical nature of the transforming principle. These experiments was based on the Griffith work and involved the following steps. So first they did, these three scientists, Streptococcus bacteria of non-virulent R strain are grown in a culture medium. Okay, remember it. First, they cultured R strain bacteria first. Now, the highly purified DNA from Streptococcus bacteria of S strain was divided into two sets, A and B. Next, what they did in second, what they did, they collected the DNA of virulent S strain and divided into two sets, A and B, two sets. The two sets S strain A and S strain B were treated with following enzymes. So they made this strain DNA into two sets, A and B. That A set as well as B set strain back DNA is treated with the following enzymes. The first enzyme, proteases. So virulent S strain in set A was treated with proteases which degrade protein present in the DNA and it left the DNA molecule. Only proteins are degraded. In set A. Now, set B was treated with deoxyribonuclease enzyme and which degraded DNA and it left the proteins. Remember it. When proteases are applied in set A, DNA is left. In set B, when they are treated with an enzyme DNase or deoxyribonuclease enzyme, then DNA is broken down, only proteins are left. Now, virulent S strain in set A and virulent S strain in set B were added to two separate cultures of R strain bacteria. Already in first step, they cultured the R strain bacteria. They made that R strain bacteria into two separate parts and they added set A into the one R strain culture and set B to the another R strain culture. After few hours, set A culture of R strain bacteria contained a mixture of virulent S strain and non-virulent R strain bacteria. Set B culture of R strain bacteria contained only R strain bacteria. Once recollect, set A S strain bacteria is treated with proteases, protease enzyme. So what is left here? DNA is left. So this DNA is transformed and it forms that S strain bacteria as well as R strain. Both are present in that. Both are developed in that culture. But in set B, the set B S strain is treated with DNase enzyme, deoxyribonuclease enzyme. So when this enzyme is used, DNA is broken down and only proteins left. As a result, what happens? The DNA is not there. That's why only R strain is present. It was found that only DNA was responsible for transformation. That's why both are survived in the first culture. Here the DNA is not available. That's why only R strain is survived. Because when DNA was treated with DNase, transformation was not possible because DNA is broken. So this shows that transforming factor is DNA and not the protein. Even though many of the scientists are not satisfied with this information. So later, there is another set of scientists, Hershey and Chase. They conducted the experiment on bacteriophages to search for the genetic material, and they given the conclusion that DNA is the genetic material. So we will discuss that experimental part in the next part.